Let's talk about the Issei family of Bleach. Spoilers for the most recent episode of Bleach, the Thousand-Year Blood War. Now specifically, I want to theorize about the origins of the Issei family and their ancestral Zanpakuto, the Shinken Hakyoken. And in order to do so, we need to first isolate a couple of key factors about the Issei and their Zanpakuto. The first of which being the Shinken Hakyoken's name, which translates to the Divine Eight-Mirrored Sword, and its power is strictly, and without hyperbole or exaggeration, the ability to reflect the powers of gods. Second, as an ancestral Zanpakuto that's been passed down for generations, it is likely that it is amongst the first Zanpakuto in existence. Third, the Issei family are priests, as well as a matrilineal family. But not only are women exclusively the heads of the family itself has only ever birthed female children. And fourth, the Issei family bears a curse for their possession of the Shinken Hakyoken, where all men who marry a member of the family will die. So what does all of this mean? Well, first off, let's discuss the Issei family, and why I believe their origins are tied to the ancestors of the noble clans. You see, we are told by Ichibei that after the fall of Adonais, and his sealing to the title of Soul King, it was the 5 great noble clans that seized power. We are told that they feared the non-resistance of Adonais, and for that reason, they maimed his unresisting body. However, I must clarify that we know a portion of this story to be a lie, as the arms and legs of Reo were sacrificed in the ritual he himself performed to create the triplet worlds. Though the ritual does not account for the many smaller fragments of Reo that would fall and create the Fullbringers, nor for the loss of his chain of fate and internal organs. So I think that it is possible that after the Reo was sealed, yet before he was maimed, was the time that the ancient Zanpakuto were created. Now, I have discussed previously that I think there is a good chance that Oetsu is the Soul King's blade, given name and form by Ichibei, who was appointed as the monk who calls the true name by Adonais himself. And it was during these ancient times, before the creation of the Seirete, and during the reign of the gods, that I think Oetsu would be forced to create at least 2 divine weapons. The first Zanpakuto, though he would make one extra in secret, the true first, the Ichimonji, a Zanpakuto to be delivered to the high priest and the monk of names, followed by the blade that the nobles believe to be the first, the Enra Kyoten, a Zanpakuto to be delivered to the Tsuneyashiro, the ringleader of the 5 ancestors. This blade would be able to perfectly replicate the abilities of any Zanpakuto that came after it, ensuring the nobility, and more importantly the Tsuneyashiro, would never fear the power of a single Zanpakuto. And then the Shinken Hakyoken, a blade that would be given to the head of the Issei family, who I believe to be the high priests of the faith that worshipped the primordial ancestors. A blade that would allow the nobles to maim the Soul King and reflect his power should he resist. And a blade that would make any of the ancestors think twice before attempting to seize power for themselves. You see, Kido, spiritual law in the Soul Society, Ichibei the High Priest, and even the Soul King all heavily tie into Buddhism. However, the Issei family in particular seem to be Shinto priests, which is the Japanese faith that worships the kami. And that belief system believes in none other than the Kodo Matsukami, who are the 5 primordial creator deities. Now, this will be getting its own huge video, but to me, it's very clear that Adonais is tantamount to Buddha, and Ichibei is Jizo Bosatsu, better known as Great King Enma. However, in the quote-unquote Bleach pantheon, I believe the ancestors of the great noble clans to be the Kodo Matsukami, and this is something that even makes sense when compared to the real world, as when Buddhism made its way into Japan in the mid-6th century, it blended with Shintoism and the two religions have coexisted ever since. This would explain why the Issei family, who are priests, are seemingly priests of an entirely different faith than the majority of the Soul Reapers, and why their family would be trusted with the Shinken Hakyoken, seeing as though all 5 of the ancestors were the very gods that they worship. They would not betray any one of them to the other, and the sword would fall outside of the spiritual authority of Ichibei Hyosube, the high priest. This would also explain why the nobility freaked out when Nanao's mother hid the sword away with Shunsui, as since their very inception, the Shinken Hakyoken has been an existential threat to them all. So essentially my theory boils down to this. The Issei family are a lineage of priests that go back to the founding of Soul Society. Their faith is very similar to Shintoism, whereas the majority of Soul Reapers seem to have a belief system based around the Soul King and Ichibei that mirrors Buddhism. Shintoism believes in 5 primordial creator deities, just like the 5 great noble ancestors are perceived as responsible for the creation of the modern cosmos. For this reason, I believe the Issei family, who are essentially the high priests of their faith, were entrusted with the weapon that could kill their gods, so that none of those gods could use it against one another. A curse was then placed on their family, so that it would only produce female priests, and any males who marry an Issei woman will die, therefore ensuring no outsiders could ever gain access to the Shinken Hakyoken.